Howdy folks, my name is Matt. Today we're here with Chad Christensen. He's a big friend of ours, previous Flagship LT owner, and today he's out here testing the Flagship HT and he's going to give us his thoughts on it. Chad, we appreciate you coming out.
You bet.
And doing this with us. We really are excited to hear your thoughts and see your article. You want to give us a little bit of information about kind of who you are and how you got into this world and what got you started, and just kind of tell us about the history of that.
Sure. I've been a long time outdoor enthusiast, so you know, camping, fishing, everything my entire life. But my wife and I have done a lot of hammock camping, a lot of dual sport motorcycle riding, and tent camping, and we just kind of were ready to move to a plusher environment. So we've had 3 different brands of pop-up campers. Went from an aluminum frame camper. Didn't care for the condensation in that, so we moved a few years later to a composite camper, and really enjoyed the composite world and knew that that's what we wanted. When we started seeing the Supertramp campers, we just really liked the layout, and we purchased a Flagship LT about a year ago. So all last season we were in an LT. So between the spacious layout of the Flagship LT, all the components were sized right. They were the components that some of them we've had, or a different version. The Truma products we're a fan of. The Victron we're a fan of. Some of our previous campers had lower quality. The last one had a lot of those higher end components, and we learned to appreciate those. So that the fact that those are all standard in the Supertramp products really helped us make the decisions. But on my ride over, the first day I drove 2 hours, and I was trying to make up time and make sure I could meet our friends here at a designated spot. And so I drove it pretty hard, and I came over the pass, and I was running with, you know, a group of cars that were also trying to make good time. And I mean, it will give a little bit of lean, and then it just locks in and stops. And you know, I thought with the taller camper, I know there's a slight increase in the center of gravity is slightly higher with this, but even on this truck, which is admittedly, you know, sitting pretty high on its suspension, it railed surprisingly well. So the beauty of this is it's still a 6.5 foot bed. You're still keeping a smaller wheelbase, good turning radius. You can, whether on or off road, the manners seem great. I came over the one pass, and there was a digital warning sign about crosswinds. At one point, that side wind turned into a headwind, and it didn't feel like it was struggling or catching so much that you'd say, well, this is just, you know, not aerodynamic or too much wind resistance. It seemed less than what you'd typically get in like a van or a camper van or something like that. It just really didn't phase it. Some of that is just the styling of the roof. Having the pitched angle in the front helps versus just a big square, and then the corners are kind of angled off. But I didn't notice a lot of wind noise or anything. And coming from the pop top, you know, those are things that pop tops are always sold as, well, they're better aerodynamics, and surely they are, but the difference just does not seem to be as great as what I expected. This having 6 windows instead of the 4 windows, the spacing, the 2 on driver's side and passenger side, the 1 at the front and back of those Arctic turn windows, you know, when you pop all those open, it is, even with the tint, I mean, it is so bright and open feeling, yet it's a 2-pane acrylic window. So you have the look, the feel of it being extremely open. So when you invited me down to see the new HT, I was really curious, since we'd been an owner of an LT for over a year. I was curious to compare the two, since the base is so similar, but what interested me was that the feel, having been in it for 4 days, is so different. The layout, the cushions, everything in the tub is the same, but your eye, whether you're sitting or standing, is really spends a lot of time in that top zone. So the aesthetics of it are fairly different, being that it is hard-sided, the window layout, the lack of actuators, just being a little bit more isolated sound-wise. When we were looking between campers, we were cross-shopping. We didn't want to limit ourselves to only looking at soft tops. When we started looking at flatbed campers, we also started looking at camper vans. A lot of of the more off-road oriented camper vans, not the luxury type ones, because that's what we do. We like to travel in the mountains. We like to travel in Utah and desert areas. We like to drive trails. There are camper vans that you can modify to give them fairly good off-road ability. Because of the wheelbase, because of the components, because of the chassis you're working with, they'll just never be as good as a pickup truck. You have to spend quite a bit of money and really modify a camper van to get you where a base level four-wheel drive pickup truck will go. And so what we've decided and what we've seen a lot of people doing is they've done the camper van thing, they've really gotten a taste for dispersed camping, and they want to push it further than they've been able to go. And so they're looking at moving to a hard-sided camper and putting it on a pickup. So they can get more places. They maybe have run into reliability issues with some of the main brand name and commonly used camper vans, and they're just maybe they've been stranded or just getting in for basic service, or they've had components fail, emissions components or electronics, and they're not able to get them serviced. And so they just want to be on a vehicle that once they rack up enough miles, they can keep the camper, swap out the chassis to a different model. Maybe there's someone that likes to upgrade their pickup every few years. Every time a new model comes out, they can do that. Ford, your Ram, Chevrolet, GM dealerships are everywhere. They usually have part stock, and just having the reliability that heavy-duty pickups are known for, or even half-tons are known for, compared to some of your choices out there. We do a lot of camper-only camping, but we'll throw the bicycle rack, mountain bikes on the back. We have a fishing boat that will tow with us. We have a 16-foot enclosed trailer, and all that just comes with us. Some of our friends that have tow-behind campers, they take two vehicles. I think the audience for the hardtop is a little bit different than the soft top, than the LT. There may be people that cross-shop both, but I think pop-top people are kind of pop-top people. Hard-sided are hard-sided camper van. That seems like kind of the cross-shopping that's going on there. There's a large number of hard-sided campers that are so large that impact your drivability on and off road. They're more of a campground type rig. It takes something like this to be able to access some pretty serious off-road and backcountry places, dispersed camping. And I think there's more interest as in the last decade, it seems like overlanding has gotten more and more popular. You're seeing more people taking advantage of getting out further away, not going to campgrounds. They want to experience it on their own or with a limited number of people rather than 100 of their closest friends right around them. They want to pull up to a spot and look out, and when the sun sets, they don't see a light, they don't see another camper, they don't hear voices, they don't hear anything. And something that can go on a 6.5-foot bed but still have this feel, this hardtop feel, be this lightweight, I think it's just opening up a segment of overlanding and backcountry users that want to be in a hard-sided camper, but want to have the pickup be able to still drive well on and off-road.